Welcome back to Podsauce. I'm excited.
Yeah. We do some things. It's getting fancier around here.
Fancy. Our guests are getting fancy. This is a good one. So we got Trey Wingo coming on. He is from Half Forgotten History with Trey Wingo, which is I can't talk today.
It's okay. It's the Emmys. It's the reflection
It's
from
literally
his
the Emmys are shining me in the eyes. I can't think right now. I got a huge ESPN star on here. I'm like, oh my God.
Doing things for you, you know.
Trey. Legendary, obviously, ESPN host for many, many years.
30-something, 30-something. Trey 20, decades.
25.
Tinkering on it. 30 years in the game for sports, correct?
For show.
Oh my God.
But we were sitting here before we started, and we're just looking at all the Emmys all over the background. It is legit flex. Well, welcome to our show.
Yeah, Trey did a good 15-minute stand-up flex on us real quick.
Listen, all I know is I have a simple philosophy: be who you are, and that's all I'm trying to do with the sauce with you guys. So I just wanted to be as saucy as possible.
You can't put all your sunshine and greatness in one little box. You got to let it out there for everyone to shine. I get it.
Sample as you will. That's all I'm saying.
Get you some. I heard that, Trey.
That's so funny. Well, welcome. I wanted to talk to you, obviously, about your podcast because Half Forgotten History. I love it. I'm going to be honest. I love it.
Thank you.
I checked out recently the episode with Ryan Leaf, and so Alicia's very honest about her non-affection with sports.
No, I don't know the sports world, but I'm a phenomenal actress, so you'll see.
So
Hold on a minute.
I got you, baby.
There we go.
So I was scrolling down. I saw Ryan Leaf, and obviously that name, for people who are into football, that name is synonymous, right? For Alicia, back in 1988, he was the second-round draft pick.
Okay.
Again, Peyton Manning was number 1.
Okay.
They ended up drafting it, and it became this colossal debacle.
I know Peyton Manning.
Not Peyton. Peyton was not a colossal debacle.
I thought you said no. I said I know Peyton Manning.
Yes, Ryan Leaf was. He basically was a bad boy and didn't play any games, and it was a big waste of a draft pick. So that is the backstory there.
Thank you.
Come to you interviewing him, I thought it was phenomenal. I didn't know this side of Ryan Leaf.
Yeah, listen, Ryan was, he was one of those guys that everyone thought was going to be the next great thing, and it just didn't work out. And he had a lot of inner demons he had to work through, and it really ate at him. And he went through some, can we say some things? He went through some bleep, he went through some bleep in his life, and he had to bottom out before he realized, I got to change. And the beautiful thing about Ryan is he sees that as a blessing now, and he sees it as something that helped him get to where he is. And he's been sober for years now, and he's doing wonderful things and helping other people who have been through the bleep that he's been through. And, his life story has always fascinated me because I sort of followed it from day one when he was in college and was a finalist for the Heisman Trophy, and which, by the way, is the trophy that goes to the best college football player.
You tried it. I know the Heisman Trophy, Trey. Not today, Trey. Okay. Not today.
Just say. You were putting it out there. You weren't so much for the sports, so I just want to make sure we understood.
People get
make sure it was good.
People get Emmys.
I like Trey. He's fun.
People get Emmys. They get in their faces in video games as themselves, and then you just can't tell them anything. Just continue, Trey.
So I was just saying that Ryan literally bottomed out and has found a way to come back. He went to jail. It was a disaster, but he's such an honest and open human being. And that's the thing I love telling about his story. Like, my faults helped me become where I am now, which is a stable, successful, happy human being. And his, people forget when they come into the draft and come into the NFL, we're babies. Yeah. We're talking about 20, 21-year-olds, just because they're physically mature and these big hulking people, you think they're fully formed humans. None of us are fully formed humans at 20 and 21. Hell, I'm pushing halfway through my 50s. I still don't feel fully formed, So I think the pressure these guys deal with out of the gate sometimes is hard, and people don't understand that. And Ryan was a great example of that. And I'm so proud of what he's become.
You're mid-50s?
Yeah.
Damn good looking too, Trey. Come on, T. damn
Who am I to say no to
good,
that?
honey.
Hold on.
You were drinking your water and
there we
minding your
go.
business, honey. Let me tell you.
So,
But you know that, but that does remind me of just. Okay, knock it off, okay? The compliment is done. But it reminds me very much so of my good friend Vince Young. The expectation to
Sure,
do,
VY.
to do great. See, I know things.
yes.
I know the people, but I may not know much after that. But it just reminds me of, you know, you come in, like you were saying, so young with huge expectations upon you, millions of dollars thrown your way. And is Ryan Leaf, pardon this, but is he black? Is he of color?
No.
Okay, well,
No.
just within our community, there is a huge expectation of take care of everyone else around you. And now you're having
Correct.
to, you know, you have so many pressures put upon you that you don't know how to balance. So I definitely am going to check out that episode.
So I want to recommend it, not only because this is far beyond just like the football player side. Like he really struggled with mental illness in regards to everyone beating him down, him struggling with himself by not being good enough, not winning. But then, you know, he was talking about, and Trey, you did a phenomenal job interviewing him. I have to commend you for
Thank
that.
you.
But we're really diving deep into what he dealt with back then, because people like to laugh and joke about, you know, him and like his failure. He's kind of become a meme every draft season. He's kind of a meme. But I think seeing the human side of him is what you really brought out in this interview with him. But him saying, like, I was a big, tough football player. I didn't have anyone to talk to and say, I am having a problem. I am struggling. And that's, like, listening to this interview, I was like, oh my God, this guy is amazing. Like, he really has come a long way. And like you said, he's accepted some of the fault, and he's very self-deprecating throughout the whole interview. What was your biggest takeaway? I know you've known him for years, but what was your biggest takeaway from that interview?
Well, it really goes back to, like, for example, like she said she knew Peyton Manning. So let's go back to Peyton Manning, right? This
You're never
starts
going to
here.
let this down. Okay.
No, I'm just playing to your strengths. That's what I do. I try to play to people's strengths.
I appreciate you.
Super Bowl 50, Peyton Manning was playing in his fourth Super Bowl and was going on to win his second. And, you know, they were drafted one after the other. And Ryan was on the set with us on the show on ESPN. We were there. And I was like, okay, Peyton went through this and is about to potentially win another one. And you're here sitting with me. If you had a chance to talk to Peyton right now, what would you say to him? And he'd say, honestly, I'd say, how did you do it? How did you handle it? How did you go through the pressure? How did you deal with everything? Because I couldn't do it. And he talked about the program that he went through to become sober. And it's one of the things they focus on in this is when you see people that have what you wanted and you didn't get, ask them how they did it. And I thought that was just the coolest answer, because this guy could have been angry, bitter, upset, you know, jealous of all the things that Peyton was able to achieve that he didn't. And instead, he was just so open and honest about it. I couldn't do it. How did you do it? And I think that's really been the key for me in seeing how Ryan has become a wonderful human being and a productive part of society, when he just said, I couldn't do it. And you know, there's so many, we're seeing a lot more of this out of athletes now.
Yeah.
That are supposed to be, hey, you're the alpha male, you're the dude, and even in, you know, Naomi Osaka in tennis, you know, multiple major winner on the women's side. There are pressures that they deal with that so many people don't understand. And I think for the first time, maybe over the last 3 or 4 years, they feel okay saying, just because I'm good at this doesn't mean I'm good at everything else. And sometimes that's hard for me. And so many athletes actually are successful in one sport, but it's not what has driven them or has been their passion. They're just good at it. Yeah. And they're trying to find that balance between, I'm good at this, but do I really love it? And how do I strike that sort of in between what I really like doing and what my life is, as opposed to what I do for a profession, and see me as a whole person, not as just this thing on a court. I do this with a lot of athletes, because I think that fans specifically, like if they see like VY, for instance, let's say you're walking around Tennessee or you're walking around Austin and you see Vince Young not dressed in uniform, you know, at the mall or at a restaurant. It's like when you're a kid and you see your teacher outside the school, it's like, you're not supposed to be here. You're here. I don't see you here. And I think it's important for people these days to see people, athletes specifically, as not just a thing, but a person who has a whole life outside of what they do competitively for a living. And I think that's a beneficial thing for both the athletes as well as the fans who love watching what they do.
Because it's what I do, but not who I am, right? You know,
Correct.
and
It's exactly right.
and it's so, what you said, Trey, is so multi-layered. I speak very openly here as well as on my personal platforms about the years that I personally have battled with and struggled with depression. And like you said, it's only been within the last like 3 to 4 years that talking about mental health and the importance of mental health advocacy, providing spaces and atmospheres for people to unapologetically say, I'm not okay. And that be taken with credence, respect, seriousness. But then you look at how, like you've mentioned Naomi Osaka, how we get it, like just within our community, right? How huge that was for someone on her level to say, I've battled with this, I'm currently battling with this, I need to take my name out of this hat. And then people kind of just, well, you only have one thing to do. All you need to do is talk to the people. How difficult is it to go up and down, what's it called? Is it called a court?
The
It's
court?
a court.
Yeah.
Yeah, the court.
Yes, the court, yes. I let it go. I let it go.
I felt
was
it.
moving on.
I appreciate you, but I was like,
Respect. We're in the tree of trust here.
I'm gonna
We're
get
good.
ahead of the curve and just go ahead and record. And it's really challenging to, like what you were saying, she's still a person, right?
Yeah.
So even if,
Yeah.
sorry.
I just, that's okay. And one of the things I think has been a blessing through what we've just lived through over the last 13 or 14 months
15, honey.
is that 15, whatever it is, and counting.
And counting.
Is that people realize, hey, it's okay. Like everybody's going through some shit. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
Everybody is. And you never know when you have an interaction with somebody what they're going through. And especially in the social media world that we live in, it's so easy to be snarky. I'm guilty of it as well as everybody else is. I think it's, let's just take a second here. You know what I mean? Hey, we can fire off a snappy one-liner and do all that kind of stuff, but what are you really doing?
Yeah.
And what do you really know about that person that's on the other end? If there's been one true blessing out of the pandemic, it's like we all are dealing with some stuff, and we need to be able to accept people that are not doing the same things that they would normally do, or not at our level at whatever, because they may be doing better on something else that I'm struggling with or you're struggling with. And I think that
more
has been
grace, like giving more grace.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Give people space to deal with their stuff, because there's not a single person that you run into on the street, on a Zoom, on a phone call, on a text that isn't dealing with some stuff. And just because we don't know about it doesn't mean it isn't real. And I think that's been a big part of the last 15 months.
And I think it's crazy important. One of the parts of his interview with Ryan that really made me really sad was Ryan was talking about how he went to this like Hall of Famers party, and because he was kind of ousted as, not being a part of the Hall of Famers, he's like, someone offered me a Vicodin, and I took that Vicodin, and it was the first time that I didn't feel, and I didn't have to feel insecure around all these people. And it started him down a path of drugs. He was going to open houses and looking through people's medicine cabinets. This is all in this interview that he did with him. And it really made me sad that he couldn't talk to anyone. He didn't have that resource to talk to. And so I think, like you guys have said, during this pandemic, we've realized how important mental health issues are. Go talk to people, get it out. It doesn't matter if you're a big, gigantic football player or not. People want to hear you and people want to help you. And I did want to ask Trey, out of all your interviews, which one are you most proud of so far?
Honestly, Ryan is way up there. Look, I've been very fortunate over my years to have a lot of interactions and a lot of conversations with a lot of people that I really enjoyed watching as athletes and getting to know them as people as well. But Ryan's always going to have a special place for me, because my first year at ESPN was 1997, and he was drafted in 1998. And I worked on football literally from the first day I started at ESPN. So my entire career with ESPN has been sort of enveloped by the Ryan Leaf story. Oh, he's this great player. Oh, he's the greatest bust of all time, and then he became a criminal, and then he went to jail, and then he became an abuser of drugs and substances, and then he found his way back. And he really is one of my favorite interviews that I've ever done. There are tons of them. Obviously, I love telling stories. Like, the favorite thing that I love about Half Forgotten History on my YouTube page, wherever you find your podcast.
We were going to do that for you, but thanks, honey.
is that, you know, there's so many stories I know from talking to people and talking to them that never made it onto a platform, whether it was a radio interview or a television interview or whatever, and getting that stuff out there. That's been the fun part. But literally, I would be lying to you if I didn't think that Ryan Leaf may be my all-time favorite interview, just because of everything that he's been through, and he's come out the other side. Like, what's the old saying? Winston Churchill said it. You know what happens when you go through hell? Keep going.
Yeah.
You know, just go through it. And he went through it. I mean, like, he went through it and he survived on the other side. And the whole reason he did the interview with me was he said, if there's one person out there that is in the stuff that I've been through, hopefully listening to this will let them know that you can get through it. You can get on the other side of it. So, but they're all great, but Ryan will always hold a special place in my heart.
Is that an intention for you whenever you do your interviews, to find the humanity, to find the grace, and to bring it out? Is that your?
It is, because, like, you know, in working with the NFL draft for many years, you know, the players are drafted, right? But so many fans see them as not a player, but a thing. Oh, we need a tight end. We drafted a tight end. See tight end, insert tight end to the motherboard. Boom, we're working. You know what I mean? And my whole thing was, see them as a person. Like, this is a human being who's been through some stuff, and this is what made him who he is. Now, he's a great football player as well, but that's 1/10 of who he is as a human being. And if it isn't, you know, if he's just a football player, there's a whole nother set of issues that you might have to deal with. So my whole thing was try to see them as a whole person, not just as a thing that will help your team potentially win games. And that's been the whole part of telling these stories and getting to know them as people, so people will see them as not just, hey, that's 88 on Sundays. He's also that same guy with his last name on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
It is so true, because I'm a big fantasy football fan.
Yeah.
And
You think with trophy smack?
Yeah. and it's true though. You look at the player and you're just like, oh, I just need to fill a spot, and you know, and you don't think about the bigger impact that has. And I've even seen people talk crap to the fantasy football player on Twitter after they didn't perform as well, and you're like, this is a person.
And
at
it's
the end of the
fantasy.
day.
Like, let's knock it all the way off.
Fantasy based on their real life performance, but it's still like, that's not fair.
A lot of Twitter muscles. A lot of Twitter muscles. Yes.
A lot of thumb thugs.
A lot of those.
As we call
Thumb thugs.
them,
I like that.
Thumb thugs.
I like that.
thugs.
I like that one.
Trey, do you have any podcasts that you could recommend to us? Because we are a podcast discovery show, so we like to hear what other people are listening to.
I wanted to show you this. I've got my iPad in here. I crush podcasts. Now I'm going to put this up. This is my list of podcasts.
Baby.
See, it just goes forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. I like podcasts. Oh, well, Slow Burn, I think, is great. I like historical podcasts, because I think, to me, anything that actually has ever happened is more interesting than something someone can make up. Like, I'm a big history buff, and I love things that actually happened, because, you know, 10, 20 years later, you learn how you processed it when you were whatever age, and then 15 years later you go through it and you process it completely differently. Like, Slow Burn one season was about Watergate, one was about the Clinton Lewinsky scandal, which we see in a completely different light now than we did in the mid 90s, you know. So that's a great one. I just love great storytelling about things that actually happened. There was a podcast called The Immaculate Deception about this fertility doctor in a certain Scandinavian country who didn't know, his patients didn't know, but like, he was actually inseminating them with his own stuff.
That was an episode of Law and Order. I know exactly what you're talking about. Oh my gosh.
It was incredible. There's another one called The Dropout, which was about this Stanford student who dropped out to photo her own biochem company. And
same podcast, or is this a different podcast?
Different one.
Okay.
It's called The Dropout.
Okay.
And that's another one that was just about, well, we had this great idea and it didn't really work out. I'm a big history buff, and I like being told stories sequentially about stuff that happens in history, and looking back at it 10, 15 years later and how you process it differently. So those are certainly three that come to mind. There's another one called Chameleon about the Hollywood con queen, which is just amazing.
Wait, who's the Hollywood con? Break that down. I need more.
Chameleon is called. It's about this person that called people to say, hey, I'm doing this film project in Indonesia or China, and I need you to come on a shoot. And all these people think this is their big break. And it turns out it was nothing. And I don't want to give too much away, but the Hollywood con queen might not be a queen. So there's just a lot going on in that one. Chameleon is a really, really fascinating.
That sounds up our alley.
Really
That's
podcast.
right, because I'm an actor. So he was like, that sounds right up your alley. I'm like, yeah. I mean,
a lot of intrigue.
But you're not the first person this week that's told me to listen to Slow Burn, so I'm gonna have to check that one out. For sure.
I'll have to look at your list because I couldn't find my pen, and I'm like, let me just pay attention. But I
couldn't find your shoes either.
No, this is a shoe-free show.
He likes to keep it.
Hold on.
Yeah, get your shoes off, Trey.
Yes,
you got your
flops.
But you see, he's got his bottle opener on the bottom of those flops.
Right.
He's ready to go.
Always be prepared. That's all I'm saying.
I didn't even catch that.
Ready to crack a beer open at any moment.
Flops on. You're right with us, babe. I wanted to ask you because I did work when I first got into the business with the Ronald McDonald House.
Sure.
And you have done beautiful work with the organization as well. Is that from a personal?
It is.
Yeah.
If
it's okay with me asking.
No, it's totally fine.
Okay.
Before I got to ESPN, we lived in St. Louis for 6 years, and both our kids were born there. So it's kind of like a second hometown for us. But some of our best friends had a child that they lost to cancer from a disease called neuroblastoma, and the Ronald McDonald House was there for them. Like whenever they had to go into a treatment, wherever they were like, "You're good, set up here, we'll take care of everything." And it's a kind of an interesting story, if you don't mind me going too far in. The Ronald McDonald House was founded by a former owner of the Philadelphia Eagles named Leonard Toews, because at the time, one of his players, this was in the 70s, a linebacker named Bill Berge, his daughter had to deal with cancer. And so Leonard Toews and Bill Berge, through their personal experience, founded the original Ronald McDonald House with the help from McDonald's in the 70s. And it's become just a wonderful thing for families that have to deal with a lot of stuff. And obviously we saw that up close with some friends of ours in the 90s. And it's always been a charity that's been near and dear to my heart.
Trey, I want to squeeze you. I just want to put you right here and just love all over
Done.
you.
Done.
Love all over you. Such a beautiful.
Listen, when people say that, I've learned over the years, you say yes.
Get yourself in here. Come on in here. Thank you so much for your time, Trey. I really, really appreciate it.
And if anyone listening wants to check out Half Forgotten History, go to the Odyssey app, or you can find it wherever you listen to your own podcasts.
Thank you again, you're going to be my new little muffin. Me and you, Trey.
Let's go. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Appreciate you.
Don't go anywhere. This is Podsauce.